Good morning. This is Roxana Gamusio. We will be starting the Cosmetology and Barber Examiners Board meeting here shortly. We're waiting on one more board member. Thank you to everybody that has logged in through Teams and participating virtually. Mr. Gillahan, thank you so much for being with us. You are very missed here this morning, but we will get started here soon. Thank you. Dana, if you go ahead and start our recording for Teams, we will get started. Good morning. Today is Monday, October the 7th. We are getting ready to start on the regularly scheduled board meeting for the Cosmetology and Barber Examiners Board. My name is Roxana Gamusio. I am the executive director with the board. First item of business, I'd like to welcome all of our members and go ahead and just take care of a couple of items of business here. Ms. Becky Russell, you're going to be running as chair today, so thank you so much. Let me go ahead and do roll call vote to make sure that we have quorum in order to proceed. Members, when I call your name, your mic needs to be pressed, the little person red, and then if you can press it again to release it, because we can only have 4 mics live at the same time. In order to start, let me start with Perry Baldwin.
Present.
Thank you. Anita Charlton.
Present.
Thank you. Monica Lemons. Ms. Lemons is not here. Judy McAllister.
Present.
Thank you. David McElreath.
Present.
Marquise Martin.
Present.
Jeffrey Moran.
Present.
Becky Russell.
Present.
Tamika Turner.
Present.
Thank you. And Ms. Lane Petty and Ms. Amy Tanksley are also not here today. So we do have quorum in order to proceed. Members, I would like to take a minute to introduce our new member. Mr. Marquise Martin has joined us, and welcome. I'll let you have a minute to talk to the board as well. Our chair, Ron Gillahan, has joined us through Teams, so I want to welcome him as well and see if he has anything that he'd like to say to the board. Chairman Gillahan, as most of you know, has been with the board since prior to us merging even. So I had the pleasure of working with him since I got here in 2013. He had served his 2 4-year terms, and so Ron is moving on hopefully to bigger and better things. We will miss him immensely, but he'd finished those 2 4-year terms. So we want to thank him for his service, thank him for everything he's done. I don't see Ron on the call anymore. He is. Can you hear me, Mr. Gillahan?
Good morning, Roxana. Thank you for
let me have an opportunity and thank you, Becky, for recognizing me this morning. If I could take just a moment, I'd like to say thank you so much to all of the members and the staff of the board for all the hard work that you've done over these many years. It has been a distinct honor and pleasure for me to have served on this board. Roxana, I know as you and I've spoken many times, I hope that I have done work that's been worthy of the people of the state of Tennessee. And I would like to also uh, especially thank yourself and John and Mike and all of the folks in your office that have worked so hard for the people of Tennessee. And I know that everything's in great hands going forward. Lastly, I would like to say thank you to the governor, Bill Lee, and to our commissioner for having given me the privilege of serving. And you and I have, Roxanne, spoken several times about some future plans I have for retirement, and I'm looking forward to those things. And looking forward to seeing the great successes that I know are coming. And Marquise, I'm so proud to see you sitting there. I think that you've got a great future ahead of you. I look forward to the great things you guys can accomplish. Thank you, Roxana, and I am going to hush.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Russell, I'll let you add anything you want to add.
Ron, we'd like to thank you for your service and tell you to enjoy your walk in the woods. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Ron, reach us anytime. Anything you need from the office, you know we're here for you. So next, I would like to go ahead and explain individuals who wish to make a public comment on any item listed and that is posted on the agenda during the scheduled public comment period will need to sign in on the sign-in sheet provided at the back. That sheet is back here, but also online. You're able to go ahead and add a note on the chat box, and we will make sure that those comments are addressed at the end of the meeting during our new business. We do want to limit those comments to 3 minutes, just out of respect for everyone. And then based on that item of business, the next thing we need to address is pursuant to TCA 62-4105, the board shall annually elect a chair and a vice chair. Due to the vacancy that we have by our chair, Ron Gillihan, leaving the board, we will need to have the board make a motion and a recommendation for a chair as well as a vice chair. Those then come the February meeting, which will be our first one, 2025. We will need to do that once more. So I'll turn it over to the board.
I would like to nominate Becky Russell for chair and Amy Tanksley for vice chair.
I second that.
Thank you. We have a motion by Ms. Judy McAllister to nominate Becky Russell as the chair and Amy Tanksley for our vice chair. Ms. Tanksley is not here, so she will, I'm sure, be still very happy to be able to do that. So we have a motion and a second by Mr. Perry Baldwin. All those in agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, members. That was very smooth, and I appreciate that. In February, we'll address this again. So, Ms. Russell, welcome as the chair. Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you. I hope to do a good job, and Ron is leaving huge shoes to fill, so.
We will guide you in anything you need. So, okay, moving ahead with the agenda. Members, you were sent the August minutes to review. If there are any corrections or revisions, please let me know. Otherwise, I will need a motion to accept the August minutes as presented.
So moved. To accept the minutes.
Thank you. We have a motion by David McElreath and a second by Judy McAllister to accept the August minutes as presented. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you, members. We will go ahead and get started with those appearing before the board. You have an agenda in front of you as well as your iPads. The first item of business is Performance Beauty Academy. That starts on your iPads on page 2. This is a new cosmetology school. Ms. Faye Waldron is participating on the call with us. This school is located in Camden. You have before you the application, floor plan, enrollment agreement, catalog, and contingency plan, which were presented timely. Ms. Russell, I will turn it over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Welcome, Ms. Waldron. Would you give us a little rundown about your school, please?
Hi, yes, thank you, Chairman Russell. Can you hear me okay?
We can, if you'll speak up just a bit.
Hi, yes, I am Faye Waldron, a triple licensed professional with the Cosmetology State Board.
Could I interrupt you, Ms. Waldron? Is there any way you can increase your volume? I think you've muted yourself.
Okay, does that work?
Yeah, is that as loud as it'll go?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I'm Faye Waldron, a triple licensed professional of the Tennessee Cosmetology State Board since 1992 with an instructor's license. We are opening a cosmetology, aesthetic, and nail with apprentice and instructors program school in Camden, Tennessee. I see the need for the education in that demographic area. My husband and I own the 2,716 square foot space designated for Performance Beauty Academy on the main square, and our plans are to begin enrollment for January 2025.
All right. We will have some discussion about your school. Can you tell me how many instructors that you have?
Currently, it is myself. I have one instructor that will be enrolled for a junior instructor program. And then, of course, with the enrollees to the school, we will expand as needed.
Do you plan to open offering all of these, so cosmetology, aesthetics, the instructor and apprentice, do you plan to be able to open and offer all of those curriculums?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We're going to go over a few things. My concern there is, will you have enough time between you and a junior instructor to be able to provide all of those things at the same time? So we may need some explanation as to how you would spend your hours with the students. But let's go through. Can you explain the class? It says that you, let's see, the instructor trainee course is completely virtual. Is that correct?
It can be done online through the hybrid program with SEMA, My Lady, with an instructor on Zoom at all times during normal business hours, or they are able to come into the school.
Okay, so do you have an instructor to be online with the instructor trainee?
Yes, ma'am. For our contingency teach out plan, in case of emergencies and through our first initial training period of our junior instructors, Michael Marks at Franklin Hair Academy has offered to be able to use his staff for any substitute teaching that we may need in case of an emergency that arrives.
Okay, I've looked at your curriculum and thank you for copying those properly. It looks like you're going to offer the apprenticeship program. Do you have you established relationships with those folks that you would send your apprentice students to?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Moving on to your clock hours and in the weeks and months that it would take to graduate. Board members, you'll find this on our page 19. It seems to be a little confusing. The way that you have it written here, it appears to be that you're telling them the maximum amount of time that they could spend in school, rather than how long it would take someone. If I'm going to school and I have good attendance, then I want to know how, what would be my graduation date. So while, if you add up the hours, in the hours that you say that they can go to school, they could be done much quicker. So I would like for you to go back and look at that and straighten that out, so the students know what the time commitment would be, not just, sometime out in the future, like you must have it completed in 2 years, but you could do it much sooner than that if they just follow the hours that you have laid out.
Okay, yes, ma'am, perfect.
Okay. Can you tell me where your school's sanitary code is written?
Yes, ma'am, it is. It is on my page 36. I believe maybe your page 41. It is under our policies on our enrollment agreement. The sanitation is the Performance Hair Academy.
Page
will
43
main-
for us.
Thank you, Roxana.
You're welcome.
Will maintain sanitary expectations daily. The students will be assigned a daily sanitation to ensure sanitations are maintained.
I'm not seeing that on our 40.
Bottom of page 43 is just a paragraph.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, thank you, sorry.
We also have that listed in our catalog, but it is there on the enrollment agreement as well.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Is there an initial acknowledgement that the student has received a copy of this agreement?
Yes. It is located
Check page 46 for us.
Yes, page 46.
Okay.
I also have on page 12, under our calendar year,
Mhm.
to hopefully answer the previous question. Performance Beauty Academy offers classes year-round. Any eligible person may enroll any day of the week of any month that the school is in session. Classes begin on Mondays of each week. Classes are held from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Thursday, with a 30-minute break and 2 15-minute breaks. Friday classes are from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. with a 30-minute break and 2 15-minute breaks. Continued is listing of holidays observed by this institution. Students are permitted additional holidays for their religious preference. There's a few other things. Part-time schedules may be arranged for students who may not be able to attend a full-time basis. I hope maybe does that answer your previous question?
So what I'm looking for is it would take this many weeks to graduate cosmetology. So you would put in that you're going to be going to school for 60 weeks, or, however the hours work out. But it looks like to me that you've got it extended out to the maximum amount of time that they could, within your contract, meet that. Not, if you attend class on a regular basis, this is how long it would take you to get through the class.
Okay, perfect. I'll
Yeah.
add that on the school's hours sheet as well.
Okay, and then one other thing that I would like for you to take a look at on our page 28, your 21, in your dress code area, you have a dress code that applies to your students, and then you have casual Fridays. in our rules, it says that under attire, all students in a school of cosmetology must wear a uniform prescribed by the school. I feel like giving a casual Friday is is sending the message that it is okay to break the rules occasionally. So I would be very cautious about that. You are the one who are teaching them the respect for laws and rules. So by saying that, you don't have to be in a uniform all of the time might send that signal. So just be very careful in that respect.
Yes, ma'am. I can remove that off of our dress code policy if you would like. The purpose that I did that with is my original instructor 30 years ago. We used our Fridays as our professional dress day. So because Monday through Thursday you are in uniform, we were actually encouraged on Fridays to wear the attire that you would wear in your business setting.
I think part of this rule has a lot to do with like inspectors. If they were to walk in, they should easily be able to tell who are students, who are clients, who are instructors, based on their attire and other reasons as well. I just, be careful when you're teaching them the rules that it is follow the laws and rules.
Yes, ma'am. They will all have a professional name tag with a smock. Instructors will also have their vest with name tags as well. But we can remove that if you like.
That was gonna be my suggestion, that, because we did the same thing in school. We would dress up on Fridays, but we still had to wear our smock and our name tag to differentiate us between the students and the instructors. Yeah.
All right, board members, do you have anything?
And I have one more, because we run into this all the time in the school settings. Just understanding the hour, how what Ms. Russell spoke to you about in regards to the hours, like fully explaining what the part-time hours look like, what the full-time hours look like, how many hours per week, and how many weeks that it will take, like having that spelled out in the contract so the student understands, because that is, like, you will get questions every week. How many hours did I do this week? How many hours do I have? How many hours do I have left? But like fully explaining that and like carving out those hours and weeks for part-time, hours and weeks for full-time. And then again, in regards to the amount of instructors that you have, for all of the programs, you have, I think it was 3 different programs, if I'm not mistaken.
4 if you count apprenticeship.
Yeah, 4 including apprenticeship. So upon us approving you to open, and then I know you say for the first of the year, like, what if you get 1 student for each program? Like, you're gonna have to have an instructor, for those, different disciplines. And then the hours that the classes are running. So like, I see that you have everything open at the same time. They will be in 4 different classrooms. Would you have the teachers to cover that? So we have to be, very mindful of that when approving that she does wants to open all of the programs at the same time, but does not have the teachers for that.
I do have several applicants that are interested in that position. And as soon as I get this approval from the board, I will be able to move forward with doing interviews and filling those positions before the January 2025 start date. Yes, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, we will need a motion.
So moved. I make a motion that the application for the school be approved with the appropriate inspections.
I
Okay.
second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, congratulations. We look forward to hearing back from your school.
Oh, thank you so much.
Ms. Waldron, I believe the only change is to update your hours if you could on your page 12. And other than that, you'll let me know when you're ready to be inspected. And it would be just a field inspector going out to the new school. Congratulations.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, members. The next school before you starts on page 55. This is Impressed Beauty Academy. It's a manicure specialty school. This is a change of location only. Ms. Rhonda Jackson is on the call to answer any questions you have. The school is located in Nashville. We have the application, floor plan, enrollment agreement, catalog, and contingency plans all received timely, and they've been updated to meet today's, the current laws and rules. Ms. Becky, I will turn it over to you, ma'am.
Welcome, Ms. Jackson. Tell us a bit about your school and your change of location.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. My name is Rhonda Jackson, and I'm a licensed instructor. I've been in the industry for years now, since I was a baby. The change of location, the location I initially moved from, we just wasn't getting too much footwork and foot traffic for the students to be able to be on the clinic floor. So we moved to a prominent area, like to where we'll be able to catch like plenty of walk-ins, to where they can really get that experience and being, you know, on the clinic floor with being able to really do the techniques that were taught to them, that are being taught with the school.
All right, can you tell us how far the move is?
It is probably about 15 to 20 minutes. It's not far at all.
So you don't
Move
expect it to be a
closer.
hardship on your students?
Right. No, ma'am, it's not. It's about 15, like I said, 15 to 20 minutes away from the old location. Yeah, it's not far at all.
All right. One of the questions that I have for you is, I see that your proposed days and hours of operation, and I know all of this has been seen by the board before since you're just moving, but you've got 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. I'm not seeing what time the students would be in class. Was that on your paperwork somewhere?
It would be 8 a.m. It is in my paperwork. Hold on one second. So it says full-time days is from 8 to 4 p.m. Part-time days is from 8 to 1 p.m. And then part-time nights is 5 to 9.
Okay, perfect. Board members, do you have any questions?
I have one question about the restroom on the floor plans. Is there a restroom located in the building?
Yes, we have 3 restrooms.
Okay, okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? All right, we'll need a motion.
I'll make the motion that this application be approved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, congratulations and good luck with your move.
Thank you so much. Have a great week.
You too.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Just on the record, we had a motion by David McElary and a second by Tamika Turner, all in agreement of that, and we will proceed. Next on your iPads, and this starts on page 94. This is the Black Pearl Nail Academy. It's a change of location also. The specialty school is also manicuring. Ms. Doria Caldwell is on. You're here. I thought you were going to call it. Thank you. I'm so glad. She is here with us. She's always been wonderful to even bring her students, so we welcome her. Ms. Russell, I'll turn it over to you.
Ms. Caldwell, welcome, and we miss your students today. Hope they're, oh, okay. Yeah, we've had them at our meetings quite frequently. So tell us a little about your school and why you're moving, or.
Sorry, the Black Pearl Nail Academy is the state of Tennessee's first full-service specialty manicure school. We are in Memphis, in Whitehaven. This is actually our third move, but we still maintain to stay in Whitehaven, so there is not a difficult time for our students to get from one building to the other. This move came about because we were leasing and now we are purchasing. And I am on Elvis Presley in the middle of Whitehaven, yes, so there's ample foot traffic, more than I thought, and plenty of just, the community actually seeing the school and knowing where we are.
Perfect. I know this is just a move for you. I was looking over your paperwork that you sent in, and you do have the state board's curriculum on there, but you've also listed another curriculum that is, it appears to be from one of the textbook manufacturers. In looking at that, if you follow the guidelines based on the curriculum written there, it looks like you would be off balanced with your general hours having quite a few more hours than 150. So you may want to revisit that and either line those curriculums up or, I think just moving some of those around. One of the ones in particular is anatomy and physiology. You do have a ton of hours in there that you could move somewhere else, so.
We need them, but I got you. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Other than that, everything looks to be in order. Do we have any questions from the board members? All right. Do you have a question?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say welcome to Dariah. We work together
Yes.
in Memphis, and
Yes.
she's done an amazing job. And
Thank
congratulations
you.
on your move.
All right. We will need a motion.
Make the motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations and good luck with your move.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Next, members, we have, we start on page 131. This is Legends Beauty and Barbering Institute. This application is for a new cosmetology school and a new barber school. I will give you a minute to go through those. Ms. Georgette Clark should be on the call here with us. This school is located in Knoxville. You have the application, floor plan, enrollment agreement, catalog, and contingency plan, which were all submitted timely. Ms. Russell, I'll turn it over to you.
Good morning, Ms. Clark. Welcome.
morning.
Could you tell us a bit about your school?
We are located in Knoxville, Tennessee. We have a building of about 3,000 square feet. We are hoping to add a natural hair course here in Knoxville, an apprenticeship program here in Knoxville for both cosmetology and barbering. These are some programs that are not being offered here in Knoxville, so we're just giving an opportunity of options for people to further their education.
All right. I have a few questions for you. The first one is about your contingency plan. Your contingency plan, and I'd have to look for it. I don't think I wrote the page number down. But it appears that your contingency plan would be that if something were to happen to the school, that you would refer your students to go to your school in Memphis, and that would be quite a drive for a student living in the eastern side of the state. So I think that you're going to have to work on, I'm sorry?
I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt. You are correct. I have reached out to several schools closer by. I also have someone in Morristown that is a little bit closer, but with the hybrid program or a virtual program for apprenticeship, I'm just not familiar with who is offering those quite yet, but I have reached out to several different people.
I think in your contingency plan, it also says that you would switch them to virtual or hybrid. if something were to happen. And while that might work for a very short period of time, if your school, if you were experiencing a water main break or something like that, it might work for a very short period of time, but it would not work for someone who maybe they just started and they need to finish. So you will need to find a different contingency with some other schools. In
There are
your,
several here.
I'm
Yeah, go
sorry,
ahead, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
There are several other cosmetology and barber programs here in Knoxville that do accept other hours
They do.
from other schools.
So we'll check with those.
Sure. We just want that to be available to the students. So if you'll just list those things. Let's see. The apprenticeship in barbering and cosmetology, it appears that, and it's on your page 1, I do believe, our page 146, it appears that the hours do not work out. So rather than it being 750 hours in school, it looks like that adds up to 450. So you'll need to work on that. It's probably just, you've probably just missed something in your, in that area. So if you'll work on your page 1 to make those hours add up to 750. I think that it's actually explained better in the catalog, but on the application, the hours don't work.
Okay. I thank you for bringing that to my attention.
You said on the applications.
Yes, on the first page of the application.
I apologize. Let me introduce to you Miss Ingrid Ware. She is my partner. We are both dual licensed. I should have mentioned that prior to. I am both a cosmetology and barber instructor, and so is she. We do have 2 instructors in the building as well.
Perfect. Can you talk a little bit about your hybrid classes and how those would work?
We are actually planning on having those hybrid students come into the building 2 days a week. We will have theory every morning with barbering, especially for an hour. And those that are on hybrid will be assigned. They will then come back. I will be online with them all day. They will be able to answer questions. I will be able to look at what they have presented to me. They will also be able to come in on Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday um, for clinic floor or to, if they have any questions, I'm here for them. I'm not going anywhere. This is the building that I will be at all day long. So they can come by the school, but they are also will have me online with them as well.
Let's see. In your application, you have a place for the student to sign that stating that they have read and understand, but it does not, if I'm not mistaken, it doesn't say before payment. So let's make sure that they're signing before they have given you any payment.
Okay.
And then for full and part-time hours, they have to be kept separately. Do you have a statement in there saying that your full and part-time hours will be kept separately?
Yes. Yes, ma'am. We have changed it since it was brought to our attention.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. This is Ingrid. If you look on the enrollment agreement, for us, it's on page 2, and
Okay.
it is under education service purchases. The very last line says Legends BBI will keep all part-time and full-time student files separate.
Perfect, thank you. I just skipped over it. Board members, are there any additional questions?
I'm concerned about the lack of a contingency plan that's practical and realistic.
Yes. And so am I, and just want to make sure that Miss Ingrid that you all understand what Ms. Russell was saying about the hours, because I think you went into saying you were a dual instructor, but on your page 1, where you have the hours broken down, that's where under schedule, is that what we were talking about, Ms. Russell? Yep, under schedule, like she said, it doesn't add up, and it just needs to be like broken down, where the student, where they fully understand before enrolling, how many hours they're required to do, how many days a week, and so forth.
Can I get,
Ma'am?
I was just asking if I can get clarification. Are you looking at the enrollment agreement? Is
Yes,
that the one
ma'am.
you're talking about on page
Right
1?
where it says
Okay.
schedule.
Yes. Let's see. Okay, I see. Where it says Tuesday and Thursday in-house,
Yes,
9
ma'am.
a.m. to 3 p.m. And then, so do I need to take out the 6 hours for 3 days? Or you just said just clarify it a little bit more so they'll know exactly what their hours are?
So as far as your natural hair program, if it's 300 hours, so if they're going to school Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., it would take them, just say, it just needs to say, how many hours a week that they're doing and how many weeks. Like, we need just the clarification on that,
Yes, ma'am.
so that the hours can add up to the 300 hours for natural hair, 1,500 for cos and barbering. Like, it just, the hours need to line up.
Okay, thank you.
I always like to ask, have you reached out and found apprenticeship placement for your students that will go through that apprenticeship program?
We actually have a pretty good relationship with lots of people here in town. We have spoke with Miss Carmen Smith, which is a cosmetologist and a 10-year stylist. She would be interested. Eddie Bowers, barber shop. He has 2 locations. He also has one availability right now, but he could have 2 um, under a different guidelines, like maybe later on appeal to the, uh, sorry.
Just make sure that you
The
have
reason,
those folks in mind and have established a relationship for them prior to enrolling your students, because you don't want them to get to 750 hours and then be struggling for a place to finish their education.
oh yeah, I agree totally.
Yes, ma'am. We have actually both Carmen and Ed lined up for some students already.
Are there additional questions? All right, are we ready for
And
a
I will
motion?
definitely,
Did you have something to add?
I just wanted to assure you that we will be working on a different um, teach out plan um, and have that submitted to Roxanne as soon as possible.
Okay.
I approve, move to approve, based on, them going forward with the necessary changes.
Okay.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve once the contingency plan is adjusted. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Congratulations, and we look forward to having your school open in East Tennessee.
Thank you so much for your time and thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a great day.
You too.
Congratulations. Thank you, members. Next on your iPad, starting on page 200, this is the last school that we are presenting. This is Hendersonville Barber Academy. It is a new barber school. Mr. Stephen Lightfoot is here to join us. He's got his new instructor with him as well as assistant. This school is located in Hendersonville. You have on your iPads the application, floor plan, enrollment agreement, Catalog and Contingency Plan. Ms. Russell, I will turn it over to you, and welcome to all of you coming in. That's
Good
great.
morning.
Good morning.
Welcome, Mr. Lightfoot. And your entourage.
And company.
And company. Perfect. Can you tell us a little about your school?
Tennessee Barber Academy hopes to establish itself as the premier barber academy in Sumner County. We see a definite rise in the population and a need for our services, and we hope to be able to provide education at a floor-ready level for these young people.
All right. We'll get started. I was looking over your blueprint, and I know that all blueprints are not exactly perfect when they're sent into the board,
Right.
and our inspector will be out to inspect, but I just wanted to make sure that you're aware how many stations that are required and make sure that you have those stations. I felt like you were maybe one or two short in the blueprint, so just make sure that you have that ready before the inspector comes.
Yes, miss. Would you be so kind as to point that out, just so we may?
I think on the drawing, some of them are not clear what they are, but you sent me your
okay.
Yeah, I
little
circled
cheat
them
sheet.
all.
I just
Yeah.
didn't want to.
Okay. Thank you.
This is a nice, clean version, but we
Right.
counted the equipment. I think he's
Okay.
in good shape. Thank you.
We don't typically count the equipment. We just want to make sure that we're not sending an inspector out
To
to
nothing.
you and you not have what you need. So just making sure. So your contingency plan, in the contingency plan, you have some online and homework mentioned, and also Zoom and Teams meetings. While Zoom and Teams meetings would work for a temporary fix, if you were just going to be down for a short period of time, that would not work if you were closing the doors completely, and
Yes.
especially with someone who had just started.
Of course.
Online and homework, so asynchronous work as well as homework are not options for hours under the rules. So they actually have to be under the direct supervision of an instructor. So
Okay.
that contingency plan would have to be corrected.
So if we remove the contingency for any online, but we just allowed for the movement to the Legacy Masters Barber Academy, this would be sufficient?
Yes.
Thank you, miss.
I don't mind if you leave in the Zoom and Teams for temporary.
Okay.
But it needs to be, you need to make that statement that it would be a temporary
Yes, miss.
closure, such as weather-related or something like that.
Oh, my God. Please do not bring up weather.
Let's see. On your page 4, our 212, you have a curriculum in there, and the curriculum is fine, except for it says the approximate number of hours, and that is a hard and fast. You can just
Oh, we will
remove
just, okay.
remove the word approximate.
Yes, miss.
Let's see, board members on our 221, I'm not sure what page that is for you all. Let me try to get there so that I can tell you what page number it is for you.
It's the breakdown of your catalog.
You've got listed there on your catalog, for a student who is able to commit 50 hours per week, that is actually beyond the limits of the number of hours that you can
Oh.
receive by law. So you'll need to reduce that by a few hours to keep that.
Do anyone know offhand the exact?
48.
48, oh,
Yeah.
man.
Just,
Okay.
just 2 hours.
All right.
So it won't be a
Fine.
huge change, but.
We'll get it.
And then, could you explain, in your brochure, it also says 600 hours of online training. Could you explain that?
Truly, our hope is that we do as little of that as possible. It's encouraged heavily that we have our students come to school. Our intention is to do our initial class, our first starting class will be our lecture period for the topic of day, and that will be broadcast online. And then we can congruently work with our online and in-house students to get through their initials.
Okay, I just want to be very clear that those must be synchronous, so
Yes.
something like a Zoom meeting, and you can do that. But that instructor, if for every hour that they're getting online, then there will need to be an instructor behind the screen
Present,
with
yes,
them.
miss.
Yes. Board members, do you have questions?
I stepped out for a second, so I don't know if I missed this or not. What is the square footage of the space?
2950.
Okay, and is this apprenticeship or full out?
We have an option for apprenticeship, although it specifies limited, considering we would have to match them with a person prior. We've established relationships and have tenure vets in the shop, but, that's as per.
Okay, and
Case.
then how many stations do you have? I see where you have the
15.
divider. You have the
Yes.
15 stations,
Yes.
okay. I think I'm getting confused. Is there two floor plans, one for Barber and then one for cosmetology?
No, miss. This is
I think that on our floor plan, some of the stations are listed as cosmetology
Yeah,
stations, but they're
okay.
actually barber stations.
yeah,
Okay.
it has just a cause chair. Yeah, but,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Your, your application, do you have a place for them to initial, on each page?
Yes, we do.
Yours may be the one that was, one that I saw had an initial spot at the top rather than the bottom where I would typically look for it, so,
I think it's the bottom at the middle.
okay.
Bottom center.
I think I've moved beyond the application to the, yeah, I was looking in the catalog. Can you point out the place where you say that an apprentice program cannot be any more than 150% of the time compared to a traditional student?
Excuse me? An apprentice student cannot be more than 150%?
Of the time, so they cannot attend
we would
more than
need-
150% of the time?
I don't believe that we actually have that specified, so we would need to add that.
So if you'll add that under your apprentice students. And did you say that you're going to teach or you're not teaching the instructors
No, I'm
portion?
not.
Okay. Board members, are there additional questions?
I have a question. I didn't want to go first.
Go ahead.
The contingency plan, am I looking over? I see the where it has the teach out plan, but it doesn't say like if something happens to the school, where the students, will they be referred to another school? Have you made partnership with another school?
Yeah,
It's
it
on
says
213.
specifically.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, the withdrawal, the termination, like, do you have, like a disciplinary plan, or is it just, you just get put out? I'm sorry, I may have missed it, looked over it.
Yeah.
I have that on
Page-
our 214.
214.
Yeah.
Yes, I was asking, is there like a warning, or is it
Oh,
just
gotcha.
they just instantly get, withdrawn from the program, or dismissed from the program, or?
Termination or permanent separation, yeah, it will be there, and it would definitely be an infraction, and it would be decided upon at the time.
Okay, so do you have like a written warning, verbal warning, or is it just you're out of here?
Well, I mean, we tried to keep it very short. If you
Okay.
do these things,
You're out of here.
yeah. But we are happy to amend if necessary.
Yeah, I was just asking just, for the purposes of like the student understanding that, because we understand things may happen, mistakes happen. So
Yes,
like,
miss.
instead of just saying, oh, well, we'll give you a written warning this time, but they, they don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
They will want to know, like,
Noted.
or understand that.
Noted, and will be
Thank you.
remedied.
Are we ready for a motion?
I make the motion to approve with the changes that were mentioned.
I second.
I'll second that motion. I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations. We look forward to hearing back from you.
Thank you, members. We are going to go ahead and hop over to the legal report. Let me know, Mr. Martin, if you have a problem switching it between the presentation on your iPad, switch over to the legal report, which is separate, and I'll turn it over to Mike Underhill.
Good morning, Board. Let's see here, we have 123 items on the legal report. We have 13 represents, 20 Barber cases, and 90 cosmetology cases. If the board has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I would request a motion to accept the legal report.
Unless there are questions, I'll make a motion to approve.
Sorry, I'd like to ask a question.
Sure.
Before we do. On number 66, I'm a little unclear as to what's going on with this. It appears that they were working without a license. They were trying to seek reciprocity, is that correct?
That is my understanding, yes. And they, basically, as I stated, I think that was the verbiage they used. They're trying to transfer their licenses, but, let me see, this was a previous inspection case. Yeah, and a notice of violation was issued, and that's, I presume, to be the response that they're trying to seek reciprocity or transfer the out-of-state licenses. So, but as, well, as I stated, it was previously inspected like 2 weeks prior to this complaint.
I would still view that as unlicensed activity since they don't have a license in our state. So at a very minimum, I would request that we send out a letter of warning or instruction to ensure that they do get reciprocity prior to working. Do you feel that would be appropriate?
Either that or we could do a new inspection, but again, it was inspected 2 weeks prior, but at the very least, a letter of instruction, that's fine.
Okay. And in our represents, number 118, it appears that there were some violations, but then now we don't have violations, and I wanted to see if you could explain that.
Yeah, apparently, the inspection report that was under this name was not the right inspection report. So there wasn't an infraction against this particular entity. They their inspection, there was no violation. So I don't know if that was a problem downstairs, something coming upstairs to me, but that particular entity did have a no violation inspection.
Okay. And the last one, number 41, I feel like we need a deletion in a portion of that.
Judy pointed that out. I believe legal just missed it. I made sure that there was no conflict of interest, but yes, that'll be removed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, what was that again? I apologize. Number
41. Yeah, if you'll look at it, you'll see it.
Oh, on the redacted part, it was still, okay. Thank you.
Board members, are there additional questions? Do you need more time?
Number 34, just from my understanding, are we saying that we're looking to revoke their salon license at this point, or?
Yes.
Okay.
And that was, as you will remember from the last meeting, we had a similar situation where the amount of unlicensed people, I think since we had that same situation here, moving up a revocation
Yeah,
would be appropriate.
definitely. Okay.
So the previous, evidently, it looks like there were 6 that working unlicensed.
Back in 2021, and now we have 7.
Are these unlicensed situations we're encountering typically people whose license have expired or have license in other states or just not licensed, period?
That I do not know. I know we use the word unknown. I think that's where we may have had a situation where people were making themselves unavailable once they realized an inspector was in the shop. So we couldn't adequately figure out what their license or situation was. All we knew was we couldn't provide enough licenses for the people that were leaving. So that I do not know. And unfortunately, that happens quite a bit.
Yeah. Dave, I think the only thing that I'd like to add is when the inspector comes in, anyone that is licensed, if they're working with an expired license, they usually have no problem showing that license, or it's posted, or they can go online, and then our inspectors always look them up. So generally speaking, if they're leaving, not giving us a name, it would be what we'll call unlicensed, right? Because they haven't cooperated, and they would if they had just an expired license. Does that help?
And being outside the profession, let me throw this question out. I noticed on number 68, even though I made a motion early to approve this, 68, I think the wording was that in this case, it was an alleged unlicensed shop, but it has a medical spa license from the Department of Health. So if we're running a medical, or if someone's running a medical spa, is there no requirement then for a license out of our office?
Correct. unless they're doing skincare also and have an esthetician and doing the services that skincare would provide. If they're exclusively licensed by the medical board, and that happens often,
Are
then
we
that's not our
notified by the
jurisdiction.
medical board who they license?
No,
So it's just, okay.
yeah. Our inspectors would stop by based on their territory, right? Because it looks like it could be a cosmetology shop or a barber shop or a manicure, and so they go in, especially the crossover with skincare, and that's how we determine, oh, this is, they've got a doctor's license, dermatology, it's a a spa license under the medical board, and in that case, if there is no true aesthetics taking place, then we would leave,
Thank you.
absolutely.
So just to be clear, so if you have a licensed medical spa, they can employ a licensed esthetician without having a license from the board?
Correct. Our statute has, under the exemptions for cosmetology, there is that exemption if they're working under a medical professional or the like. And
Gotcha.
so that is a big crossover for our estheticians.
Sorry. We have a motion to accept. Do we have a second?
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much.
And just to clarify, outside of that one redaction on 41, the only amendment will be 66, sending out the letter of instruction regarding individual licenses.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, members. Please let me know if you want to take a break. If not, we will continue. We're back on our full presentation, and our next item is, oh, I'm sorry. Joe, I'm going to turn it over to you for an update on our rules in the pipeline, anything legislative.
Good morning, board members. I just wanted to provide a quick update to you regarding the rulemaking package we discussed several meetings ago that went over the retrospective review and then the cosmetology compact. That's been reviewed and approved by the commissioner of the Department of Commerce and Insurance. Because there were several rules that dealt with hygiene and sanitation, the law requires that those rules be submitted to the Department of Health, who controls sanitation and hygiene. They review the rules that deal with those subjects and then also provide their approval. As of now, that rulemaking package is with the Department of Health, as they've already gone through the commissioner in my office. So we're waiting to hear back from the Department of Health, getting their approval on our rule changes regarding hygiene and sanitation. So that's where that project is currently. At our last meeting, the board entertained the idea of possibly amending the apprenticeship rules. One of the documents that Roxana would have handed you this morning had several rule proposal changes. The board asked that I look at those rules and draft some proposed language that dealt with apprenticeship. I have the rules on topic listed, and then I have my amendments there listed as well. It's obviously completely up to the board's authority to decide to do nothing, to change my wording on these rules, accept the wording, and change the rules that are currently on the books. If the board decides that they would like to look at the apprenticeship rules, we would most likely, to make everything as efficient as possible, want to entertain pulling back the current rulemaking package that we have, since it has not gone all the way through and you all haven't had to review it in detail at a rulemaking hearing, and add as many rules as we can to that package to take as many issues and have as few rulemaking hearings in front of this board as possible. So with that, I leave it up to you all to review that apprenticeship language and ask me any questions that you may have, or any discussion amongst you all if you still are entertaining the idea of changing those. But as a little background, the statute requires that any supervising professional have 10 years of experience, so we're unable to amend that aspect of it. In the conversation at our last meeting, essentially, I believe, if I'm quoting Ms. Chairman Gillihan correctly, he said that when the rule was written, we had one apprenticeship student and one supervising professional, because the supervising professional is focused on running a business and instruction at the same time in their shop. So his recommendation, and it's obviously up to you all to change, was that we keep the 1-to-1 ratio, but allow a supervising professional to schedule multiple students as long as they're at different times. So essentially, for instance, you would be providing apprenticeship overview on Monday to individual B, and then maybe on Tuesday, or however you wanted to set up your schedule, you would then be providing supervision to individual B on Tuesday. They wouldn't be there physically present at the same time, but that would allow one supervising professional to possibly provide hours to multiple students at the same time. So I'll hush and let you guys open up the discussion.
I feel that finding these professionals has been a bit of a hardship for some of the schools that want to offer apprenticeship, and I think that this will help alleviate some of that as long as those licensed professionals are willing to take on the additional students, because many times they are working outside of the hours that the students that they are currently working with are. So they may be able to have a morning and an afternoon student, or split their days of the week. So I think this may alleviate a lot of problems for some of those schools.
And speaking from an apprenticeship school owner, it is a big burden, and it's very hard to find the professionals that are willing. All professionals aren't willing, and the ones that are, it's, what we have found is they're not trying to just fill their salon to get money. They're still focusing on the student because they still have to provide a service for their clients that are coming in, and you don't want to just throw somebody in there just to have someone in there. So being able to allow multiple students will be great because it's been a big challenge. Yep. And it is left up to the school to vet those professionals to make sure that they aren't, running trying to run a business just off of the student or their own small school, as some have said. But being able to vet them and make sure that the students are still checking in to make sure that they're maintaining the profession and the level of education that's being taught, and the students are still checking in. So it's not that we're just throwing them out there just to be working in the salon, but to be getting those hours needed on the apprenticeship portion of the program.
And if you have a salon that has, let's just say 3 that have the 10 years of experience, could each one of those have an apprentice student? That's what I thought.
And that's with the rules as they stand right now. So this proposal would be that each of those 3 supervising professionals with 10 years or more could potentially take on 3 students. But the way Joe has it worded, it wouldn't be at the same time. And so, you wouldn't walk in to a shop with 9 individuals or more being apprentices. They'd have to figure a way to rotate the days or the hours or have some of that discretion. And we would train, if the board is inclined, we would train the field inspectors to make sure that that's the case. There's never more than one-on-one, but then it'd be up to the supervising professional to divide those hours.
Okay, but if you have 3 and each one of them has 3, you could have 3 apprentices in there at the same time
Correct.
then, correct?
Correct.
All right. I think being able to do the 3, like what you're talking about with the rotation, I think that's a great idea.
I think with that situation, with the licensed professional having a different apprenticeship student on different days of the week, would that allow the student to be able to complete the course in a timely manner, being that the time is split? You're not going every single day now. Now you're only going 2 days a week. Now, what does that do for the student? What does that do for the student's enrollment time?
Yes, sir, that's a fantastic question, and that's actually where I pulled the number 3. So based off of my numbers and a review of the rules, the reason why I came up with 3 was this. The Barber statute defines, or the Barber rules define a full-time student as someone that's getting at least 25 hours a week. Based off of that math, an apprenticeship student is allowed to complete the standard contract offered to a non-apprenticeship full-time student, so we're still looking at a minimum of 25 hours a week. If they're allowed a time and a half to complete the program, essentially the way I looked at the math is a normal full-time student would be getting 12 and a half hours for this 50% portion, because apprenticeship divides your school instruction and then your apprenticeship instruction into 50-50 of the total curriculum of the program. So if you have an extra 1.5 times to complete this normal 12.5 hours, which would be out of classroom instruction, you're looking about 8 hours and 20 minutes a week. So the reason why I came up with 3 is 8 times 3, you're looking at 25 approximate hours. A full work week's 40. So how close did we want to get to that 40 number and still allow someone to take on students, have time to run the business, and give the students enough attention that they deserved? So that rough mathematical calculation, looking at 50% of the hours and then the extra 1.5 times you get to finish as an apprenticeship student as to a normal student, that's where I came up with 3. But as you can see, it's not an exact number. I didn't get all the way to 40. I was kind of balancing on, how a business owner would want to share their time.
Yeah, it makes sense. I guess I'd have to see it all written out in a formula, but it makes sense though, I guess. But yeah, that would be my only question about that, having 3. Would they be able to complete it in a timely manner?
For any stylist that's working 40 hours, I'm jealous. Yeah, because it's from what we've seen, most salons, they have a day shift and they have an evening shift, they have weekend shifts, so they are willing to work with the students' time there, and especially if they're in agreement. We do an agreement between the salon and the school that they're going to follow the instructions that we already have listed, for the student at the beginning of enrollment. And so, it's been working out, but the thing is, if you have 10 students in your class that are apprenticeship and you only can find 3 people, that's where it became a burden, because you only have 3 people. And so you'll have to try to figure out how to get these students into those 3 people. So you may have somebody on a waiting list, or your program struggles because I only have 3 apprenticeship partners and I can only take 3 students. And then what does the money look like? And then how do you pay a teacher just for these 3 students? So it was like I said, a burden on the schools when you have students that are interested in that apprenticeship program.
I went ahead and printed paper so that you all could kind of see the red line version, or this is Joe's fantastic take on writing it down, but this would also be your opportunity, kind of, if you see something that may not work. And to his point, so if the board is inclined and this number looks right and you don't see anything that jumps out, we can go with this version and pull back the rules that are in the pipeline to run it all together, right? And for that, I think we do need a motion if we're going to continue that. Yeah.
I will make that motion.
We have a motion and a second to pull back the current rules and add these to it as they have been written. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you so much. Joe, you did a great job.
Thank you, yes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I did want to bring one more item real quick while we're talking about the rulemaking package. Now that we're pulling it back to add the apprenticeship rules, I did another thorough scan of all the rules. The Cosmetology Compact, as you all know, removed the requirement that in order to receive an instructor's license, you have 3 continuous years of licensure. That requirement was changed to 3 years of licensure. Continuous was removed. There is a peripheral rule currently in the Cosmetology Compact that I had not previously edited because of the cosmetology change in continuous to non-continuous years for instructors. That rule is 0440-01 065, and essentially it just explains how you apply to get an instructor's license. In that wording of that rule, it states that you would need to prove that you've had 3 continuous years of licensure. Since that requirement's been removed, I would seek permission from the board to add this rule to the rulemaking package so that we can clear out all the rules that state 3 continuous years to comply with the compact.
I think that would be a great idea so that we can knock that one out at the same time. Your all thoughts?
I think it's a good idea.
Do you need a motion for that one as well? All right. Someone make a motion?
I make a motion to move forward.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. That was a good catch.
Thank you, members. Wow. All right, we are going to go back to our presentation, and we are on the applications to test. It's page 224. I'll give everybody a minute to get there. You have before you, normally this is where we present our felony applicants. In this particular case, Ms. Hannah Bowles is the only applicant with a felony conviction. She is ready to apply for her license, has taken the exams. She is requesting permission and being submitted to the board with information regarding her, the felony that she has. She has a disclosure as well as a letter of recommendation. The board approves these for a 2-year probationary license. Oftentimes, our applicants are incarcerated. In this particular case, she is not, but she's ready to be licensed and has passed the exams. We complete an agreed order for the 2 years that allows for protection to the public, but at the same time, we're able to approve her. So if there are no questions, I would need a motion to proceed with that agreed order.
I make the motion that this request be approved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's send her to test.
Thank you. Next, we have a reciprocity application. It's been a minute since we've had these, and this starts on your page. Let me see where we are. Thank you, 251. You have before you an application from Mr. Calvin Martin. He is applying for a master barber license using his military occupational skill, that MOS, that is referred to in our statute. Mr. Calvin is stationed in Clarksville. He has provided his military documents. If you look on page 231, his application is one that I believe within the military, they've held on to this paper applications. Well, I think Ron would have recognized it. Other than that, this is an old paper version we don't even have on hand anymore. But as part of his military application for his education as well as exams to be waived, he has presented his DD 214. We don't have many of these applicants. It's been a while, and so Joe and I had a chance to review this. And so he is recommending on the document that you have that also covered the additional apprentice. We have a brief explanation for our military folks to be able to approve them without the education in the military, just to kind of make it very clear which statute they fall under. So we would be requesting the board approve him based on his experience as well as his training, and it is related to 2 different statutes that are not ours. Correct?
I make a motion that this be approved based on his DD 214.
Thank you.
I second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Is that it?
Oh, sorry.
In review of this issue too, I also believe, since you all have previously decided to pull back the rulemaking package, the Barber rule, I have cited on the same document where we have discussed apprenticeship, the military training / education. This is Rule 0200-01-.069. I have the current reading of the rule. It cites TCA 431304. But TCA 6276-106 explicitly deals with members of the United States Armed Services that are honorably discharged. If the board reviewed their application, they were honorably discharged from the military, you could take any licensure, time, qualifications, training that they received as a barber or cosmetologist in the military and apply it for licensure. The rule currently cites 1304, which deals with someone in the National Guard or in the Army Reserves. This actually deals with someone that's exited the military with an honorary discharge, and the board would be able to assess, any time that they spent in a similar profession within the military towards licensure. And it also spells out education and testing. I just want to be as specific as possible so that, the rules reflect exactly what the board can do. The board has the authority to do this. The rule, just as currently written, doesn't spell it out. So I just feel like my recommended change in language that we've provided to you all underneath the military training and education kind of defines everything a little clearer. But again, it is up to you all to discuss, reject, accept, move forward with. But I feel like it always helps to be clear. That way licensees know exactly what's expected and what will fly in front of the board. So that's why I made the recommendation.
Thank you, members. We will continue. The next item is our miscellaneous. Oh, Joe makes a good point. We want to add this to the rule package that he's got in the pipeline and follow the statute that he's listed on this document.
We will need a motion?
Yes,
Is
I
that
think so.
correct?
I make the motion to approve.
I second it.
This is to add the language, he's got it here at the top of your white sheet. It's to add that to the military section.
Do we know if there's any branch that has an MOS dealing with barber
Yes.
besides the Navy?
No, just the Navy.
Because I know we didn't in the Marine Corps. It's pretty basic, so.
That's a great question, yes. So we have a motion and a second, correct?
Just real quick,
Yes.
just to clarify, so even if they didn't hold an MOS as a barber, if they have some experience,
No, it would
No.
have to be,
it would, just like what we just reviewed in that 214.
Exactly.
Mr.
So
Martin.
the DD 214 comes from the Department of Defense, and essentially the board has the ability to assess whether or not the experience that they've received as a barber within the Navy qualifies them for licensure in the state of Tennessee. So this just explicitly, because as the rule states, it says that you can assess their qualifications. The statute requires classroom time and testing. And I feel like it just is better for us to spell it in the rule that, hey, if you all deem this person having received enough training within the military for licensure, that we explain in rule that covers classroom requirements and the testing requirement.
Aye.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, members, we're on page 236, and this is our miscellaneous applicant. In this particular case, you have before you Ms. Dana Page. Ms. Page is a current cosmetology instructor, and she is wanting her dual instructor to get the barber piece, to become a dual barber instructor. When she applied in Tennessee, she's coming from a state that has the cosmetology and barber license as one, but we do not. Ours are two separate licenses, so she had to pick which discipline she wanted. And so she went with the cosmetology and then tested and became a cosmetology instructor. So what she's asking for is the education that she had in Utah in barbering to count toward the 300 hours she would need to become a licensed barber instructor. Right now, the law, as you know, allows that path for a full cosmetology instructor to obtain a barber instructor license by doing 300 hours at a barber college in the fundamentals of barbering and straight razor shaving. She's provided her full transcript to show that in Utah, she not only had cosmetology hours, but also barber. We've not had one of these requests, so I wanted to bring it before the board. I don't know that we'd have another, but if you recall when that law was passed, we allowed anyone that had taken the basic exams and was waiting on the 3 years to upgrade to instructor to be granted this dual license. So we had some people in the pipeline. She's unique in that situation, that she's coming from a state that has both of the educational pieces together. So if the board would approve her, she would be taking that Utah barbering education, and you'd be approving her dual barber instructor license.
I'm looking over her transcript from there. I'm looking to see if she does have the shaving portion.
She does, page 247, shaving.
This transcript is quite long.
Oh, it's very lengthy. I thought of
Yeah.
not putting it in, but I
I
ran
think
into
it
the
was
same
important.
thing. But she does seem to have some barbering techniques, and the shaving is one of the things I looked for.
I see where it is. It's on her page 8, but I can't see our page. But I wanted, is there a place where it has the amount of hours that she may have received for that portion?
So
for the
on
shaving?
page 247, under shaving, I think the hours would be I see it in 3 or 4 different places, the 12s, possibly. But then it's not only the hours. Remember that in Utah, she was a cosmetologist and a barber. So she worked as a barber in that state before moving here. So it's not just the transcript, it's actually her experience as well.
It appears that she may actually have 2,100 hours in cosmetology and barbering as far as the
Correct.
education. And if that were true, then she would definitely have covered the number of hours.
And the exams, if you
And
look at
the-
the exams she provided, she's tested for both disciplines. So that's the reason it's before you.
So this would be to approve her barber instructor's license without testing. Is that
Well, there
correct?
is no testing for the dual instructor. All there is the 300 hours. So in her case, she sort of already had a barber license, also tested, and has the education. She would not need that 300 hours on top of everything else, yes.
Gotcha. Is there any discussion? We'll need a motion.
I make a motion to move forward.
I
Okay.
second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you, members. The next item is our director's report. You have on page 251, the numbers as of about a month ago, maybe 2-3 weeks ago. And so as of the June 2024 numbers reflect a deficit of $73,932 for fiscal year 23-24. The final numbers I looked at this morning. You don't have them yet, and the 4-year projection isn't finished, so by December you will have them. It looks a little bit better. It looks like we'll end with about 40,838 as a deficit. So either way, the 2 final entries to close out the year didn't change it, but bless you. It is a little bit lower. The report that you have in front of you shows us with a reserve balance of $1,148,541. That's roughly going to end with $1,181,000. Not a huge difference, especially for our new board member, Mr. Martin. We don't love being in the red, but we are waiting to look at fee increases until we have a better understanding of the cosmetology compact, how that'll look, what type of fee that will be. So we will probably be looking at a fee increase, but right now our reserves are good enough that we can wait and look at the whole perspective before we propose a fee, and then the board would discuss the options as we proceed, so.
Roxana, have you looked at the numbers to see about where you think it might need to be in order to get out of the red?
You mean our fees?
Uh-huh.
So what we did in 2017 is we increased the cosmetology fees by $5 per year. So they went from 50 to 60, and we reduced our barber fees from 80 down to 60. And so the shops, the same thing. The barber shops were paying more than the cosmetology shops, so we lined everything up to be one. I don't have a number in sight. Some states have 3-year licenses, others have 1 year, so it's very hard to compare. I think we would be increasing the schools, the shops, and the individuals, hopefully not a lot, but the reality is, and every industry says this, right, costs have gone up drastically. Our costs to do inspections are huge. And then cost backs, and we mentioned several meetings ago, there was a study done to make sure that state employees were compensated equally among the states. We were among the lowest paying, and so that cost is impacting us now, all of those increases. So whether we end up with $100 or under that, it's too soon, I think, to tell, but we're definitely gonna look at not increasing it to where it hurts our licensees when we have to do the increase, but we don't want to come back to it in 5 years either. So somewhere in there, you all will get some options and then discuss what we do. I don't think our licensing numbers are down, so that's the plus. That's why even looking at this as 40,000 in the red, that's not a large number, but it's still a deficit either way.
This question,
Yes.
what would be the logic in, like, cosmetology shops and barber shops paying a different price for the license?
Well, we were separate boards, and so the barber board, before we merged, had to be self-sufficient. So they had a huge fee increase in 2008. It just about doubled your fees.
Yes, I remember.
And so shops, schools, and individuals were much higher because you had a smaller licensing pool than cosmetologists. So it was roughly 4,000 barbers to 45,000 cosmetologists.
Gotcha.
So once we merged, we were able to make sure that we could, and we were self-sufficient up until a couple of years ago. So I think even reducing the fees made a lot of sense. Now it's just everything has gone up so much that's what we'll have to look at.
Right, so would it be like just the sheer number of cosmetologists to barbers is why the number was different?
Yes.
Okay.
For self-sufficiency. So if you've got 45,000 people versus 4,000, and by the boards merging, I think there's also a benefit to our inspections, all of those things. So it was good in 2017 to line everything up.
Okay.
Okay, that's a great question. That leads me to one of our conversations. I think it's the last item that I have. At the last meeting, we discussed the law change that eliminated the need for the barber penalty for late renewal. That penalty was set in the statute to be double. So when a master barber renewed late on the first day of whatever month after their expiration, their fee went from $60 to $120. So that law was removed. The board, we discussed this at the last meeting, gave us a motion to go ahead and proceed with the penalty to be $25, just like the cosmetology. Unfortunately, as we went back to look at what we needed to do with that, the rule actually says that the barber penalty is the $60. And so we're gonna need a motion to get us back in line with what the rule says. If the board members, Joe worked on making the penalty for our master barbers $25, but that's still in the pipeline. It hasn't become official yet. And so until it does, our barber penalty remains $60 because we have to follow what the rule says. Does that make sense? Did I miss anything?
She explained it perfectly. Essentially, the rulemaking package that I've brought before you on numerous occasions this morning includes the adjusted fee. However, those rules, as you all know, haven't been through a formal rulemaking hearing and are not effective, so we have to stick to what's on the books until the new rules replace them legally.
And so because we did motion to follow the rules that we can't, I would need a motion to basically follow what the penalty is for our barbers until the new rules kick in and we've got everybody back to just a $25 penalty.
I would make that motion.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And before I turn it over to the board members, see if there's anything else that you have, I want to make sure that if anyone is here that has signed up and needs to or would like to address anything discussed on the agenda or through Teams. Dana, if you'll let me know if anybody has put in a chat and would like to have a few minutes to discuss or ask questions, I would turn it over to those individuals.
There's nobody else on the call that has a question.
Thank you, Dana. No.
What's up? Hello?
Yes, hello?
Yes, how you doing? I had one question. What was the motion on the apprentice addition of one? I know it's 1-to-1 on the at first on the apprentice with 10-year. I'm just trying to see what was the motion on that. I missed it.
So the law that says the rule that says that we would have one apprentice student to each supervising professional, we are working on those rules. The motion was to approve as presented by legal counsel, which would be to change it to 3 individuals per supervising professional with 10 years or more, but the hours have to be separated, that you cannot have 3 students at the same time. So those rules will follow through and be presented again, and then they'll go through an actual rulemaking process before they become final. But right now, the proposal is for 3.
The proposal is okay. So it's gonna go on rule. Then I get a email update through the school.
Yeah, it's
about
going to
the rule
take.
change.
Yes, that will take a while. The rules are going to go through and be finalized. The board will vote on them. We'll go through rulemaking hearing, which of course all schools should dial in, speak this way, send comments. You'll get a chance to see it. And then it actually goes through and has to be approved by the legislative body. So it won't be a fast fix, 6-9 months, easily 6 to 9 months.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Russell, that's all I have. I'll turn it over to you.
Before we close our meeting, I'd like to extend our thoughts and well wishes to those licensees and schools and shops that might have been affected by the flooding and to our east. So our thoughts are with you. If there's nothing else, then we'll need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. So we are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.